In this step-by-step tutorial, we're going to build an incredibly useful workflow in n8n that utilizes multiple AI agents to be able to automate a very tedious and repetitive process that currently exists in the market, whether it's for small businesses, for large businesses, even for individual brands. And that is the need for whenever a client signs up or gets onboarded, for them to be able to send an automatic welcome email. And then also the other AI agent will be able to generate a new terms of service contract or some kind of a non-disclosure agreement that will automatically send to our client via email, so that way they can sign and get that back to us, so that way we can start with our service agreement. This is going to completely automate that process, so you will see there's going to be a lot of use cases for this particular AI agent, because you can tweak and add more nodes into this where you'll be able to tailor this to your own use case or for your own business need. In this particular example, we're going to utilize the client onboarding form through n8n's native form trigger, but this could be switched with a Google form, SurveyMonkey, type form, or any kind of form that's out there in the market that you might be utilizing for your current business, where we will gather the client onboarding information and then we'll submit this form, where then we can utilize our two AI agents that will then send these automatic emails, one for a warm welcome to your company or business, and another one will be the term of service contract, really formatted in a contract form. And again, this could be tweaked where now you can attach this into a document and send it as an attachment to an email, or you can just send this as an email directly with the content inside of it. At the end of the video, I'm also gonna provide more use cases that you can utilize this particular workflow by adding a few more nodes that I will showcase, where then you can tweak this for other business cases that you can add to make this workflow even more useful. I'm going to be providing this template on the template section of our classroom, and then also I will be adding this to the advanced and intermediate AI agent tutorial section, but you can always find this in the all n8n template section, where all you have to do is just basically now go to the top right hand corner and you can just import from file, where then you'll be able to just download this and bring it over to your workflow, and that way everything will be there, so that way when you're building your own workflow automation, you can have a reference here, so that way it will be a good guide for you when it comes to prompting and all these other notes that I created. If you're new to the channel, my name is Zubair. My YouTube channel and my AI workshop school community is all about building incredible automations and AI agents with no-code tools like n8n, where we focus on real use cases for AI tools for businesses, for personal brands, and we have great community members who are actively participating and collaborating on different projects to utilize on their day-to-day businesses. So I'm going to put my school link in the description below. Feel free to join us. With that being said, let's get started. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our trigger now. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and name our workflow. I'm just going to say TOS workflow. And for those of you who don't know, TOS stands for term of services. Okay. And you know, this could be for whatever. This could be for a contract, for an NDA, and I'll explain those use cases as we go along, because you can really utilize this to make anything you want. So, all right. So for the first step, we need to add our trigger. So there are several triggers depending on what your use case is. I know a lot of companies use Google Form, they use Typeform, they use SurveyMonkey. So depending on what your use case is, whatever form you prefer, it's going to work the same way, because the idea is to grab the information from client via some kind of a form. So if you just go ahead and search form, you will have several options that you have here. There's the n8n form trigger, form.io, form stack, SurveyMonkey, Typeform. So there's lots of stuff that you can do. But you know, in our case, for this demo, this n8n form trigger is pretty good. So we need to add a few fields here, depending on what you want to achieve here. There's several things that you can add, so you can customize this as much as you want. As far as the HTTP, so this is going to be the test URL. I always suggest to change this path, because that way this won't be some ugly long path. So let's go ahead and just change the form path to TOS, so that way now you have this short little URL. Authentication will keep as none. The form title, you can just say client onboarding, or whatever you want to name there. Form description, we're just going to say, please fill out the required fields to get started with the onboarding process. And again, this could be depending on your use case. Let's say you're going to build this agent for sending out NDAs. So NDA stands for non-disclosure agreement. So let's say you want to have a conversation, you're a small business or a big business. I know this is a very common practice among the industries, a lot of industries, where if you have sensitive information, before you have a conversation with the client, you want to be able to send them a non-disclosure agreement so that way they can sign that, and then you'll be able to move forward and actually have those discussions with them about what kind of services you provide, what are the software processes that you have. And that's why a lot of companies send NDA right away via email, especially in the payment industry, for example. This is very common, right? Because you don't want to disclose those sensitive information without the client sign some kind of agreement. So it could be tweaked for that as well. So the field label, I'm going to fill a bunch of these field labels instead of kind of going through one by one. So you just basically add the field label. This is going to be the label on top of your text box there. You're going to select the field type. So it could be text, date, drop down list, email, whatever it may be. And the placeholder, this will just be something that you put, for example, John Doe or johndoe at gmail.com, right? So that way you can guide your client on what would be a good data source or what would be a good format of whatever you're asking for them to provide. The required field, so if you toggle this is gonna make sure that the client fills that information before they move on to the next step, or before they submit the form. And if you don't toggle this just means that it'll be an optional. So if they don't fill that part, then they can still submit the form. Response when form submitted, you can leave this as it is because we're going to utilize the data that's coming in as soon as somebody submits this form. So I'm going to go ahead and fill all this out and then provide additional field labels and then come back and explain quickly. Okay, so I completed the different labels. Same thing again, the form path, TOS, the form title, I said client onboarding form, and then I put a bunch of these different labels, and this is what it's going to look like. So if I bring this, if I bring this over here, so this is what our form is looking like right now. And as you can see, all of these fields are required. So I just put full name, your email, company name, industry, services required. So, and then for the placeholder, I just said something like website development, marketing strategy, or whatever it may be, right? And then also this start date, right? Because you want to grab date that the potential client is planning to start their services with you, or even, or just start the conversation with you about the services that you're willing to provide. So once you submit this form, then the data gets processed. So I submitted this form right now, and this is the data that came through. And again, I'm pinning this. So the great way for n8n is to pin a data, meaning that you don't have to go through and fill in this form every time you want to test this workflow, right? So all you have to do is come on the top hand right corner here, and as you can see top left right here in the center, and this says this data is pinned, meaning that this data will always be now sent to our next node because we have this data that we provided once to this form. Now we don't have to worry about clicking on test step every time and creating new data that comes in. So this is just a good way for us to get started, right? Okay, so now that our form trigger is done, the next thing we need to add is right now, as you can see, there's some data that's coming in that we don't want to pass to our next node. Like for example, we want the name, email, company, all of that stuff. But then there's this submitted at, and then also the form mode. So let's go ahead and clean this data because we want to be able to filter that. So in order to do that, we're just going to add our plus sign, and we're going to click our search for set. And this says edit fields. So this is a great node that n8n has integration with, where you can basically edit the existing data that's coming in from a previous node. So let's go ahead and now drag the data that we want to send to our next node. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the full name, the email, company name, industry. That's good. Service required, start date. Perfect. And you can always rename this. So for example, here it says the full name is coming in from here, but let's say I want to change this to just say name. And then here, same thing with email. I'm just going to change the email instead of your email or client full name, or client name or full name or whatever it may be. Okay. So now let's go ahead and test this step and make sure that all this data gets sent over to our next node. If I click on test step, and now as you can see, all of that email, all of the data that we grab from this side moved to here without these two data fields that didn't want to go through. Okay, so you can check that in table view as well. All right, perfect. So that's good to go. So now let's go ahead and add our first AI agent, which is gonna generate a welcome email, right? So you want to be able to provide attention to your clients that are submitting the form, whether it's asking for some kind of a service, whether it's asking for information, or they've already come on board and you're utilizing this form to onboard them by sending them additional documentation, but you also want to send them an email first that welcomes them to your company or to your services. So a good way to do that is to automate that process, so that way you're not doing that manually. So let's go ahead and add our first agent that's going to go ahead and send that warm welcome email to our clients with information that we're getting from this form that's being submitted. So I'm going to click on the plus button, go to advanced AI and click on AI agent. So let's get out first of all and get rid of this chat. Click that, get rid of this. All right, so let's go ahead and for our AI agent, for the chat model, I'm just going to utilize the Grok chat model because this is just going to simply put together an email, and Grok is free, so why not? The model you can select. I'm going to utilize, let's see, the Llama 370B. That's good to go. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead. We don't need to attach any memory or tool, but let's go ahead and add some prompt here, because this is not going to be a tools agent. This is going to be actually a conversation agent, right? Because we're going to give it a prompt to tell it to generate a warm welcome email to our customer. So let's go ahead and change the agent from tools agent to conversation agent. Prompt, instead of taking from previous node, we're going to say define below. And this is where we'll define our prompt. So let me go ahead and maximize this. I'm actually going to use the expression field actually instead of this fixed text, because we need to grab the name and email and make this email personalized at each time somebody signs up. And obviously if the data changes, then you want to be able to have this agent grab the proper name and the proper email and send the proper response, right? So we're going to use the expression. I'm going to click on this so that way this gets maximized. And I'm going to go ahead and quickly type the prompt. Okay, so I said write a personalized welcome email to the email from the AI workshop, right? So, and I'm grabbing the email from here. So all you have to do is just basically grab an email. As you can see, this gets populated because this is a JSON field that's coming in through. And on the right hand side, as you can see, you will see the email that has been submitted by the client. So this will always make sure that it's sending the email to the proper person. So let's go ahead and get rid of that because I don't want to. All right. So yeah, so when you see these green curly brackets, it just means that this is a JSON or a JavaScript code. Not necessarily code, because all we were doing is just drag and dropping it. But this is coming in from our previous node, and these are all the schemas that are there. But anyway, so I said write a personalized email to welcome them. They are in the following industry, in whatever industry they fill in on the form, and they need services for the services required. And the services required right now, this is that sample data that I filled in my form that just said website development, SEO optimization, digital marketing strategy, but whatever it may be, whatever use case or business you're providing, whatever service you're providing, then you want to make sure that you grab that request and add it here. So that way in this email, it's almost like a confirmation that, hey, these are the services that you're asking for. So that way you kind of repeat that to make sure that they didn't make a mistake when they're writing. So that way they have a chance to, let's say, it's like, oh, wait a minute, they made a mistake. No, I don't want that service. They can always resend that email or submit the form again, right, with the proper information. But this is a good way for them to make sure that they're confirming exactly what they're looking for. And then same thing, the service will start on the start date, and whatever start date they fill in that in our form that we sent, right? Because our form also grabs the start date from them that the client is going to choose themselves. Okay, great. So I said, yeah, the tone should be professional yet friendly, include a mention that we're excited to work with them. And then I also said that let them know that they will be receiving a separate email with the terms of services agreement that they need to sign, or simply respond to the email. And again, you could tweak this prompt for whatever use case you have. Instead of the terms of service agreement, like I mentioned before, if you are some company or a business or a person, to be honest, who needs to have some form of a legal agreement before you can even start a conversation with your client, then this is a good way for you to utilize this to automate that process. And a lot of times, like honestly, if you just send somebody like a quick legal wording, even if it's via email, then, you know, they know that, okay, this is serious. Like, I'm dealing with somebody who's serious. They're a proper company, they're a proper business, or they're a proper personal brand, right? So this kind of gives you additional credibility just by utilizing these AI agents. Okay, great. So again, depending on what your use case is, please feel free to change the prompt here. But for now, this is good to go. So I'm going to back out of this. If you want to require a specific output format, if you toggle this in the bottom, as you can see, an output parser shows up. And if we back out from here, you can, let's say you want to respond or you want to send this data in some kind of a JSON structure, you can always add a output parser. But for now, we're not going to do this because I'm actually going to add an OpenAI node that I'm going to tell the data that I'm receiving from this AI agent and format it in a specific way. And I'm going to show that in a little bit. Okay. So for this agent, we're basically done. All right. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and actually rename these nodes because I always like renaming my nodes because it makes things a lot easier. So this is going to be our form. So I'm just going to change it to client onboarding form. Okay, rename, good. Edit fields, I'm just gonna say clean data and change this to whatever you want based on your needs. AI agent, that's fine, I don't need to rename that. All right, so let's go ahead and test this right now, right? Let's go ahead and click on test to see what kind of an email this is generating. If I click on test step, I should be getting an email. Okay, let's see. Subject, warm welcome to AI workshop. Dear John, we're thrilled to welcome you to AI workshop, blah, blah, blah. All right, so it looks like we're generating an output, but the problem is, as you can see right now, all of this, the subject, the body of the email, it's all being spit out in one schema field, which is just an output string, right? So what we want to do, we want to be able to separate this and have the data split out into subject and then also the body of the email. Now, I don't know if there's a better way to do this by just prompting this agent. And if somebody has done that, please let me know. But the easiest way to do this, in my opinion, is just add a quick OpenAI node, and that's going to do the work for us. And because I'm lazy, I always like to utilize as much AI tools as possible, just tell them what to do instead of me going through and changing things manually. So you're going to go to advanced AI, and this time I'm just going to grab this OpenAI module, and we're going to say message a model. So if you come to the bottom here, it says text action message a model. This is a really cool tool that n8n has, that you can basically use this for multiple different ways. So credentials, make sure you're connecting to your OpenAI account. And if you don't know how to do that, watch my previous videos. I walk through step by step on how to add your account. All right, the resource we're going to keep as text because that's the resource that's coming into us, right? This output is all in text. Operation, we're going to message the model. And the model, I'm just going to choose GPT-4 mini because that's the cheapest one. And for the text, so now what we're going to do is this is coming into us as JSON. So we need to say, hey, we need to parse this JSON and separate the output into subject and the body of the email. And it's very simple to do that. All you have to do is just provide a prompt that says parse the JSON output and the output the following parameters separately, subject and body. So what this is going to do is it's parsing this output right here, and we're asking it to separate it into the parameters, which is going to be the subject, and then everything else dump it in the body. So the role, we're going to do a system because we need to add this data that's coming into us, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab the output here. I go to schema, grab the text. Okay, perfect. Okay, so that's good to go. In the bottom, simplify output. And then also we want to be able to output this content as JSON, right? And if you kind of hover over here, it says whether to attempt to return the response in JSON format compatible with GPT-4 Turbo and all the other GPTs. Okay, so that's good to go. So now let's go ahead and test this to make sure that it's splitting this data that's coming in into a subject and a body. If I click on test, let's see what this does. All right, perfect. It looks like it worked. If we go on JSON here, now as you can see, it changed the content and separated into a nice little subject and a body. And the reason why I'm doing this is because this is going to be useful on our next node, because we'll be able to grab the subject separately and the body separately for our Gmail node. Okay, great. So yeah, this is what I was mentioning earlier. If you guys think there's a better way to do this using some other node, then feel free to let me know. But anyways, for now, this should be good to go. All right, so now let's go ahead and send an email because we got all the content that we need. Now we need to add a Gmail node. And again, this could be whatever your email preferences. You can utilize that. You can use Outlook or whatever it may be, but I'm going to use Gmail. And you can either send a message, right, directly to the client, or you can just create a draft. And I'm just going to use create a draft so that way I can show you exactly what this outcome or the output of this is going to come. So I'm just going to click on create a draft. You're going to add your Gmail account. Again, if you don't know how to do this, watch my previous videos where I walk you through step by step. The resource is going to be draft, and this is where you can choose whether you're going to be messaging, labeling, or others. But for now, for us, it's going to be creating a draft. Operation is going to be create. The subject, and this is what I was talking about, this is where the usefulness comes in, right? Because now we can grab the subject separately and add it here. Email type is going to be text, and the message, now all we have to do is just grab the body here. And perfect. Great. And the great thing is we already told it to format it in a nice little way. And as you can see the result, it looks like really well formatted to our for our customer. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and actually test this step out and see and make sure that we're getting a good proper email. So I'm going to click on test step, and it looks like node got executed successfully. So it looks like the email got sent. Let's go ahead and take a look at our drafts. This was from previously. Let me get rid of these. And as you saw, we just received 11:09 a.m. This is our email that we received. And as you can see, oops, that's too big. Warm welcome to AI Workshop. Dear John, we're thrilled to welcome you to AI Workshop. We're excited to work with you in the technology industry and provide our expertise in website development, SEO optimization, digital marketing. And again, this is all coming in based on the information that the client submitted to us via the form. So that's what kind of automates the entire process. So for each individual client or whoever is interested in filling this form, this is going to personalize that email and make sure it's providing the proper industry, whatever industry they're in, and whatever services they're requesting for you and your team to do. And it says our team is looking forward to collaborating with you to achieve your goals. We'll be commencing our service on this date. And again, November 1st, this is the date the client chooses themselves. And we're confident that our combined efforts will blah, blah, blah. Right. So it says in the coming days, you will receive a separate email with the terms of service agreement. Please take a moment to review and sign the agreement, or simply respond to the email to confirm your acceptance. Thank you for choosing AI Workshop, blah, blah, blah. So see how this really professionalizes this whole concept. And like I said, you can tweak this however you want based on your use case. So now that that step is done, now let's go ahead and create our second AI agent, because we also want to be able to send them a separate email, right? And when it says that in the next coming days or in the next few hours that you'll be receiving a separate email with a terms of service agreement, that also kind of makes it even more professional. So that's what the great thing about this is. All right, so now let's go ahead and add our second AI agent to be able to generate that terms of service contract for this client. Let me move this up here. Okay, that's good to go. And actually, let's go ahead and rename this so that way we don't get confused there. So this is going to be welcome client, right? So this node is particularly for generating that or formatting that welcome client email. Same thing on the email. This is going to say welcome client email. Perfect. That's good to go. All right. So now let's work on our second AI agent. And the data that's coming into us, it's going to be same thing. We're going to grab it from our client onboarding form, but then obviously we have cleaned the data. So I'm just going to kind of click on this and just drag it. And when you do that, it opens up again this what happens next tab, where you can now choose another AI agent, or you can honestly, you can just copy this as well, whatever you prefer. A lot of times I actually do that. I just copy the node that exists there, especially if it's going to be similar to the one that I already have. So let's go ahead and add a chat model. This time, because I'm going to utilize, I'm going to use term of services or I'm going to use this agent to create a term of services. So I'm going to use the OpenAI chat model, but depending on your preference, you can play around with different models to see which one creates the proper response. So I'm going to select my GPT-4 mini. Okay, that's good to go. Let's now go ahead and double click on this. Okay, same thing. This is going to be a conversational agent again, and I'm going to define below. I'm going to switch to expression, and click on this, and let me go ahead and type this out. All right, so I said, please generate a terms of service and contract document for, oh, it's missing a name. Let me grab the name quickly. Grab the name. Bring it right there. There you go. All right, so please generate a terms of service and contract document for JSON.name, and this is going to be the name that's coming in from our submitter, in this case, John Doe, from AI Workshop, right? So this is where you put your company. So this is where you can tweak this prompt for whatever your need is. But this just is a good example for you to see what you can do as far as providing this prompt. So utilize ChatGPT to create good prompts. And in my school community, you can go ahead and check out if you're part of the school community. I have really good prompt templates that you can utilize specifically for n8n to be able to generate these really cool prompts that's specific for these nodes. But anyway, so same thing, the client operates in this industry and requires services such as the services required. So again, same thing, you're kind of generating the service agreement or this non-disclosure agreement based on whatever service the client is requesting. So you can see this could be very, very powerful, because now the OpenAI model is going to tweak, and this agent is going to create new contract each time based on the service that the client has requested. And this is where you can add actually examples of your existing contract, right? So I'm actually going to go ahead and utilize a custom GPT that somebody in my school community made. I believe, let me see where it is. Yeah, Yasmin made this, so shout out to Yasmin. It's called n8n Sidekick. If I'm just going to click on this, go back there, and here's my GPT. All right, great. And this is a great thing about our school community. We have members that create really great use cases for n8n that I might not even know about, or I might not even know how to create. So that's kind of the big advantage of having a school community, where now you can utilize everybody's knowledge. So now go ahead and generate a prompt. So I can always say, generate a prompt. So I'm going to say something like, generate a prompt for creating terms of service agreement for an n8n AI agent node. So let's see what it does. But you can play around depending, like I said, on whatever you're trying to achieve from here. You can utilize this, ChatGPT, or in this case, a custom GPT that's tailored to n8n, where you can generate your prompt in really great details and then add that to your AI agent here. But for mine, because again, I want to keep this very simple, I just kind of created this little prompt earlier that I used to keep this very brief. So that way it just says, hey, introduction outlining the purpose of the contract, use the scope of services, payment terms, and again, this is just for example purposes, obligations of both parties, terms of condition, and then a section for client signature. So let's go ahead now, get out of this. Required specific output format, we don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and just test this step. So now this should generate a term of services contract for us with this proper information that we got earlier. And if I back out of this, as you can see, it is good to go. Term of service contract, yep, there you go. It generated a really great term of service contract. And at the bottom, as you can see, it also did a formatting with the proper signature fields right there. Okay, great. So now, same thing again as we did before here. This is all being sent in one output. So if you want to separate, let's say I want to separate this into term of services contract document as a title, and then the rest I want to put together all in one body field. Or you can always separate these, right? So let's say if you have a section that's for payment obligation and you want to utilize another node that you want to be able to separate those and add, let's say, the payment terms, you can add an additional node. So that's what the great thing about adding a separate node like this OpenAI model, OpenAI chat node, is that you can separate your data that you're receiving from this AI agent into additional fields, where then you can do much more things with it. So now I'm going to go ahead, instead of like adding this new, I'm just going to go ahead here and copy this, or just say duplicate, and I'm going to attach this to this. I'm going to double click on this. That's good to go. So now we need to change the text here. Let's go ahead and change the name first. I'm just going to say term of service contract, rename, good to go. Okay, so we're going to actually this time get rid of this. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Get rid of this. Go back to fixed. So I said parse the JSON output and return the following. So the output is this again, and this is coming from our previous AI agent. So I want to be able to separate the title as extract only title field, and that should be this initial term of service contract title that might be coming in from there. And then I'm saying for the body, combine all the other fields into a single text block and format it like an official contract, right? For example, NDA or term of service. So again, same thing, play around with the prompt. You can utilize a custom GPT or a chat GPT to make sure that you're getting the proper result out of this. If I don't do this, let me go ahead and go ahead and test the step first. We're gonna use, let me get rid of this. So this is gonna be a system message, right? That's gonna be a system message. And then the text, this one, is going to be this output, right? Great. And this role is gonna be for user. Output content is going to keep as JSON. So if I don't do this, let me go ahead and get rid of this first. Let me just show you what this might spit out. If I test the step. All right, there you go. So now if you don't put that prompt there to combine all these things together, it's gonna separate everything into different sections. So it's gonna have an introduction, it's gonna have a scope of services. So this is good if you want to further now add additional roles to be able to add other things to this contract. So let's say you wanna add a payment term, right? So you can always just edit this. Oops. Let me just use this quickly. So now with this edit field, you can actually filter further data. You can separate the term of service that was generated by AI agent into something different, because this payment term title, this scope of services is always going to be there because of the fact that we defined it in our prompt here, right? Because this is going to be all of the sections that this AI agent is going to create. So now we can always utilize this TOS contract OpenAI model to separate this into separate sections, so that way we can send it further to our other models or other nodes that we can edit and do further things to it. And that's what I was talking about in the beginning of the video, that you can really utilize and customize this workflow for whatever use case you have, because you have these great ways to now generate separate terms or separate sections of a term of agreement that this AI agent is creating. But for our purposes, I'm just going to basically combine this into just a title and a body, just for simplicity, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and okay, so for this particular use case, I said just combine all other fields into one single text block and format it like an official contract, right? So let's go ahead and test this, and now you'll see that all of these sections will disappear. It will only be a title and a body. I mean, hopefully if I did this correct. So let's go ahead and test that step. All right, perfect. See, so now we changed it to title, which is going to be term of service contract for John Doe. And the body is gonna grab everything else and put it in the body, as you can see here. That's great, right? And the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm sending my terms of services via email, so that's why I want to keep this as simple as possible. Okay, so we're good to go there. So now let's go ahead, same thing, let me move things around a little bit, add a Gmail node. So I'm just gonna copy this same thing, just duplicate this, grab it here, attach it, go to Gmail. So now let's go ahead and change the subject, because this is going to give us error because this was coming in from the previous one. So make sure you're grabbing the correct items, because now you have access to different agents. This is where I was saying that it's good, always good to name your nodes, so that way you don't get confused. So for the title, we're just going to grab the title here, the subject of the email. We're just going to grab that title, and for the text, and we're going to keep it as body, because again, same thing. This is coming in from here. So let's go ahead and test the step. Let me make sure that I refresh this. There's nothing here. Let's go ahead and test the step. And now I should be receiving an email with the term of service. So let's see, refresh again. And perfect. If I click on this, there you go, right? Now you can see that I have really nice contracts. It says this contract is made and entered into a date signature by and between John Doe, hereafter referred to as client, and AI workshop, here referred to as service provider. So you can see it's very professional. It's providing the service provider agrees to the following services by the client, website development. It provides good details. and the client agrees to compensate, then this is where you can enter your compensation if you want, and that's where you can add additional nodes to even further customize this. And on the bottom, by signing below, the client agrees to blah, 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 right? And that's perfect. And again, you can tweak this to just say, hey, you know what? I don't want to have this section here, or I don't want to have a signature section. All I want to do is just tell client in this email that, hey, just respond to this email as yes or no or agreed, and this contract will be binding. So that way you can basically completely automate this process. Great. All right, so let's go back now. We're good to go here. Let's see. So that's done. That's done. Let me grab this. So now we want to, so once that these emails are done now, actually, let's change the name here. This is going to be, all right, that's good to go. That's good to go. All right, so now let's go ahead and grab and send, let's say I want to send, once this term of service contract is sent to the customer, I want to be able to also send a copy of this term of services to somebody internally on my on our company, and I can add a Slack message to do that, right? So I'm just going to say Slack, and you can always say, let's see, search for message, delete a message, send a message, right? And I'm going to use my Slack account credentials. Same thing, watch my previous videos where I show you how to add your Slack credentials. It's very, very simple. So the resource is going to be message, operation send, send to. I'm going to use a channel, and this will load all the channels that are existing on your Slack. So for example, for me, let me see here. So I got these channels, AI agents, all Slack, customer feature requests, customer feedback, social, all of that good stuff. So I'm just going to grab, let's say, I don't know, I'm just going to grab this AI agent message. You can do simple text, and this is where now you can grab a message, right? And I'm going to grab the term of service, and I'm just going to grab the entire body, actually, just for the purpose of this example. And if I go ahead and test this step, click on test step, I should be receiving a message, and there you go. And my AI agent, oops. As you can see, this contract is made to enter between blah, blah, blah. So now you can always receive, and again, you can always tweak this if you don't want to, for example, receive the entire contract. You can tweak this however you want. And you can also combine this email, meaning that a copy of this welcome email that's going to your client will also be sent to a particular Slack message. Okay, that's good to go. So now let's go ahead and test this entire thing out really quickly to make sure that everything works properly, because now you can actually automate this, right? Go back to my thing. There you go. So let's go ahead and completely use a new form trigger. So I'm just going to go ahead and double click on this, unpin this. So that way we can provide new data, new fresh data. And if I click on delete button here, workflow. Okay, so Jack Smith, jack@example.com. You can say industry, finance, services required, invoice automation, let's say. Payment reminders, and late fees, or whatever. Start date, I'm going to use October 25th. All right, so now when I submit the form, this should process everything at the same time. Let me make sure that we're good to go. Click on submit form, and it's working. There you go. So it's going to generate that welcome email now. Now, once that's done, now it's going to create a term of service contract. So this AI agent is working on that right now. And I should be receiving 2 drafts now, right? And then also a Slack message with the new term of services. So that went through properly. All right, everything looks like it worked out. Let's go ahead and check our email. If I refresh, perfect, there you go. So warm welcome to Jack. Warm welcome to AI Workshop, Jack. Dear Jack, we are thrilled to welcome you to AI Workshop. We're excited to start working on your finance industry, providing top-notch services for invoice automation, payment reminders, and late fees. And again, this is getting this information from the form that the client submits. Our collaboration would commence on the 25th of October. That's great. And we're confident that our solution will bring significant value to business. Okay, you will receive a separate email with the terms of service agreement, which we kindly request you to sign and respond to your earliest convenience. If you have any questions, good to go. All right, and we also sent a separate email with the terms of services. If I click on this, now you can see that we got this nice little, and again, you can tweak the prompt to make sure that it's formatting it correctly. All right, so that worked out well. And then also we should be receiving this on our Slack message. And as you can see, it sent another one is Terms of Services by Jack Smith. There you go. So everything looks like it worked out perfectly. Great. Well, now you can utilize and add additional tools to this, right? So let's say you want to be able to, like I mentioned before, you want to be able to add a payment terms to this contract. So you can get rid of this connection here. And now you can add, for example, additional nodes to be able to transform the data. You can filter the data, right? You can split out, let's say, just a payment and then add it back to the email later on. You can combine data that's coming in from different AI agents, and you can do something by converting your term of services that you receive via email to some kind of a file. You can change this to a PDF. You can add it to a Google Doc. So you can do all sorts of different things depending on what your use case is. But you can see that this workflow with these multiple AI agents could be extremely powerful when it comes to use cases that you can utilize for your brand or for your small business to make sure that it further adds some credibility into your services that you're providing, right? All right, well, hopefully you found this helpful. Make sure you subscribe and like the video because I have really great tutorials that are upcoming as well. And for those of you who are in my school community, I'm going to be providing this template on the template section of our classroom. And then also I will be adding this to the advanced and intermediate AI agent tutorial section, but you can always find this in the all n8n template section, where all you have to do is just basically now go to the top right hand corner and you can just import from file, where then you'll be able to just download this and bring it over to your workflow, and that way everything will be there. So that way when you're building your own workflow automation, you can have a reference here, so that way it will be a good guide for you when it comes to prompting and all these other notes that I created. All right, well, hopefully you found this helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.